Hello, BookTube. Well, it's the third week of October, and that means November is right around the corner. And I wanted to take the opportunity to announce what I'm sure you already know. I want to boost the signal, as the kids say, which is that November is the month for Nonfiction November. It's an event hosted by Olive at A Book Olive and Gemma at Nonfic Books, in which they celebrate the reading of nonfiction. And they do it on BookTube because BookTube is, of course, heavily skewed towards the reading of fiction. And the whole point of Nonfiction November is to get you to read more nonfiction and to see that it's really enjoyable, that it's worth reading more of. I did this last year. I boosted Nonfiction November all of last year, and I loved it. I love nonfiction quite a bit. And I love convincing readers that they can do it. It's always amazing to me the reflexive distaste or intimidation that some readers feel towards nonfiction as opposed to fiction. When, as I mentioned last year, as I mentioned to everybody, as I've mentioned in bookstores forever, world building is world building. Storytelling is storytelling. It shouldn't matter that the subject really happened versus something that somebody made up. And if it does, if a nonfiction author is uh, neglecting world building and neglecting storytelling because they assume that since they're working in history or biography or whatever, they don't need to, they're doing a bad job. They're doing every bit as much of a bad job as if a fiction writer ignored those things as well. So the playing field is more level than you might at first think it is. And so Nonfiction November, if you've been interested to read more nonfiction, added more of it to your reading schedule, now's the time to do it. And to make things more interesting, Olive and Gemma have gone all out. They have a Goodreads group, and they have hashtags and all that sort of thing. And they've also done four very, very general, very nebulous challenges to maybe help give shape to your reading, although they aren't, of course, mandatory at all. And they're not even specific. They're big general categories. The first one is home. The second one is substance, then love, and then scholarship. And quite a few of you have been emailing and texting and whatnot to me to make a TBR for Nonfiction November. And as I've responded, I've responded a couple of times. I don't mean it to sound snotty. Uh, it would be kind of silly for me to stipulate four books, one for each of these challenges, for the month of November, when I'm going to read an extremely large number of books in November, and an extremely high percentage of those books will be nonfiction. So I'm going to cover these categories many times over. But I thought, in the interest of fostering amity, I would give you an example of each one. These are all books that I've either read and I'm going to reread in November, or that I haven't read and I'm going to read in November. And the one I wanted to start with was Home, and this is a novel set in a city that was once my home. And I loved the one before it, so I haven't actually got to this yet, but I can't wait to do it. This is Robert Tirabashi, and this is The Apothecary's Shop, a novel set in 12th century Venice, uh, in starring a guide. Let me see if I in a medieval Venice ravaged by famine and orgiastic revelries. The protagonists of The Apothecary Shop explore the depths of the city and the paths to the supernatural in their search for a missing child. There's always a crime in these books, and it's well done. The young Costanza, scion of a noble Grimani family, has disappeared. Edgardo, the family scribe, vows to return the girl to her family, an ambitious enterprise given his failing eyesight. Physical ailments and emotional torment hinder Edgardo in his search, for as he undertakes this perilous investigation, images of his own lost love are resurrected. Help arrives in the form of Abella, the only female doctor in Venice. And I love, these are from Europa Press, and they do such a good job. They have such a great backlist and front list. They're just an amazing publisher. So this is going to be one of the entries for Home. There are going to be others. I guarantee you that in the course of November, I'm going to read at least one or two other books that are set in or deal extensively with other cities where I have lived. Uh, but that's what it'll be for now. And then the next one is Substance, which is, intentionally vague. These are meant to invite you to come up with your own answers. But for me, uh, when it comes to nonfiction, because as you know, if you've watched this channel, um, I rather like big books, and I'm very fond of uh, meaty history, meaty biography, not 10 ways that Leonardo invented the magic marker. Number 9 will shock you. Not stuff like that. Not the 200-word stuff that people dash off, but serious work. I love that. I just eat it up. So for substance, I'm picking this, which is a book that I haven't read yet, but I can't wait to get to it. This is David Kinniston. It's called Till Time's Last Stand, and it is an 800-page history of the Bank of England. And I can't wait to get to it. And this, of course, is substance, because this is it's a huge subject. Believe it or not, I'm sure you do. It's far bigger than even a big book like this can convey. So I think it will have a lot of substance. I'm hoping that you couldn't even float the suggestion of a history of the Bank of England past a publisher without it having substance on its bones. We shall see. And then the third one is Love. And I don't, again, this is intentionally vague. I am sure that in the month of November I'm going to read quite a few romance novels. I love romance novels. And love, of course, is the essential element of romance novels. But I didn't include any of those because A, there's too many of them, and B, I don't have a lot of November romances at the moment. Those of you who are with Avon and Berkeley, I'm not particularly looking in your direction, but I don't have many November romances yet. I'm sure I will buy some because the mass market romances are one of my last indulgences that I will buy in a new bookstore. But you can also interpret the category as books or authors that you love. And in November, it turns out there's a little book coming out by an author I love, and I wasn't expecting it because she's long dead. And I think we've seen it on this channel before. This is Sleep No More, 6 little murderous tales from the great P.D. James. And it's a tiny little thing. It won't take any time at all. That's why I say that it's a little odd for me to make a TBR at all, because, for instance, this will take me, less than an hour, which will leave 9 hours left of reading in that day. So it's a large amount of ground to cover, but this certainly counts. This is an author I love, and it's going to be, who knows how many more things like this there might be, maybe none. So it'll be one last chance to read her. And then the last category is scholarship. And the book that I chose is another one that I haven't read yet. I'm kind of sort of waiting for the finished copy. I don't know if I'm going to get it. The finished copy's out already, and it hasn't reached me, so I might not. I'll wait a little while longer, and then I'll just dig in. And it's a book on a subject that I knew there would be a little flood of books on this subject, and I knew that they'd all be dumb. And I was waiting for one, the inevitable one, that wouldn't be. And the subject is Alexander Hamilton, the latest hip-hop sensation. And there's been a ton of, how Alexander Hamilton saved the country, Alexander Hamilton's business tips, Alexander Hamilton's negotiation tactics, Alexander Hamilton graphic novels, all that sort of stuff. But I was waiting for a serious scholarly work to come out, and one is coming out in November, The Burr Conspiracy. Big, thick thing, again, another huge book. This is by James Lewis, and it is, here we go. In 1805 and 1806, Aaron Burr, former vice president of the newly formed American Republic, traveled through the Trans-Appalachian West, gathering support for a mysterious enterprise for which he was arrested and tried for treason in 1807. This book explores the political and cultural forces that shaped how Americans made sense of the uncertain rumors and reports about Burr's intentions and movements, and examines what the resulting crisis reveals about America's anxieties concerning the new nation's fragile union and uncertain republic. So this is, all the founding fathers and Hamilton will play starring roles in here. But this is an offshoot of, this is a tangent of furor. If the publisher, this is Princeton University Press, if they've had this on their books for a while, they might have nudged it up because of the success of Hamilton, or maybe not. One way or another, I know already, because of what I know about the subject, I know already that vigorous, detailed scholarship on what exactly Aaron Burr did will yield tons of material that has never been covered before. Believe it or not, you'd think it would be seminal, since his name in American social folklore is synonymous with traitor, and yet, no, there's still a huge amount to be done, and I bet this book does it. through dint of sheer scholarship. So that's my entry for that. But that's just 4 books. There's plenty of other candidates. The main thing I wanted to do with this video was not really to show you any provisional TBR of mine, but to encourage you, just like I did all of last November, to join in. He doesn't. You don't have to. You can ignore these challenges completely. Join in, and quite a few of you. I'd be willing to bet if you give nonfiction a wide berth, I'd be willing to bet you're still interested. You're intrigued, and I strongly urge you to give into that in the month of November and read more nonfiction, because it it is more interesting. It is a bigger, broader, and more interesting world than the made up stories. So no matter how much they move us, they move me too. But reading about reading nonfiction has a, let's just put it this way, we won't make it a competition. Reading nonfiction has an incredible charms, and if you haven't familiarized yourself with them, now's a good time to do it. So I'm gonna wrap up for now with a strong encouragement, and I'll be stopping in throughout the month of November to continue encouraging you to read more nonfiction, and sign up for all of these things that Olive and Gemma put so much time and effort into, to sound off about your own choices. But that's it. That's it for now. I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.